Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I am Shreyasi Pal, Associate Professor at BMS School of Architecture, Yelahanka, Bengaluru. We are proud to be a NAC accredited and NIRF ranked independent architectural college under the esteemed BMS Educational Trust. Today's session is part of our research orientation seminar series, an initiative aimed at nurturing a robust research culture within the architecture and allied academic communities. These seminars are designed to foster knowledge exchange and collaborative learning, and we are delighted to have participants from across India joining us. Your engagement is what drives the success of these series, and we encourage you to actively participate throughout the session. It is my pleasure to introduce the 12th session of BMSSA Research Dialogues, and we are truly honored to welcome Dr. Suresh Nambudari, innovator, educator, and co architect of pioneering AI based educational platforms, as our distinguished resource person for today's seminar. Now, here, actually, mostly our director, ma'am, would love to invite you and in person for a session maybe sometime, but she is busy on her official duty today. So let me only introduce her to our audience today. Dr. Nambudari is the co-creator of AI-based platforms such as Bloom's Outcome-Based Education Lab or Bloom's OBE Lab, Vigyana, and AI Charya, focusing on outcome-based education, high-impact research, and pedagogical excellence. With over 4 decades of experience across industry and academia, including a leadership role as Chief Operating Officer at the Tata Group, he has contributed to the development of more than 160 products across disciplines. He has co authored 5 books on applied AI and developed over 50 AI prompt engineering techniques. As director and chief mentor at Aspire Technologies, he conducts transformative faculty development programs across India. Today's session is shaped by participant interest and will delve into the ethical use of generative AI in research and a step by step approach to prompt engineering for ChatGPT, which is a topic of great significance across disciplines now. It is my honor to welcome Dr. Nambudari to BMSSA and to this seminar series. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, madam, and good afternoon to all. First of all, I appreciate you for selecting this topic because this is very relevant. This, as we know that generative AI is about 2 years old. So when I started working on generative AI some 2 years ago, there were only some 23 AI tools on internet. Only 23. Now there are about 70,000. So this itself shows certain important points. Point number one is anyone can make an AI tool because if you have some 5 to 6 prompt with a particular purpose, then you can have a tool, AI tool, and you can start earning money. But we should not forget that the companies like OpenAI, Google, etc., they spend 7 to 8 years for training the data. This training the data, that is the main work, and only to save money. My understanding is this OpenAI, that is of ChatGPT, and Google, they are subcontracting their trained data to various companies. That is the reason these companies like Anthropic Cloud, Copilot, all are residing on top of ChatGPT's trained data. There are many other thousands of people, they are all living on top of Google's trained data. So there are only few companies, they really went for training their own data. So this is what the existence of AI tools. So you all know that whenever someone says there is a training program on AI for research, now people laugh. Why they laugh? Because someone is going to tell a big menu of some AI tools. For this you can use that AI tools. For this you can use this AI tools. Ultimately it is a display of menus. Means they say how to log in, and there are some three four parameters in that. Then you can get this. But that is not the use of artificial intelligence for research. And when 99% of people, they spread the news all over the country that this is what artificial intelligence for research, this is the word means people believe. I have seen most of the research deans in India, they do not know what is AI itself. And they know only one thing about AI. AI is unethical. You should not use AI for research. 1 month ago, one of my colleagues was telling me, Osmania University, they put a circular itself. AI is not allowed for research. At the same time, all over the world, all those countries are really making use of AI to the hilt. Already they are much ahead of us in every facet of research, and they are with the AI, they are having a turbo boost. At the same time, we are not at all good in research, in the sense we have not developed anything big so far. Still we are doubtful on this. At this stage, I wanted to appreciate you for having this research dialogues, and I am very happy that I am able to be part of this for one of your sessions. So let me speak about this. So I wanted to tell you that whatever I am going to speak here, it is not on internet or it is not in any of the textbook or YouTube video. I am going to speak everything with my own experience. So this is coming from this is hard work and experience. So my request is that anytime any sort of questions you have, please ask question, because I could grow because only by facing and answering questions and facing the challenges. So I am always happy to face questions. So now let me share the slides from here, and when and where it is required, I will explain to you things in detail. Hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, now the thing is, actually here there was a heading that is artificial intelligence for high impact research. It was a video, it has come to the end. And meanwhile, let me tell you one thing. I am happy that you are an autonomous architecture institution. I am basically a product design specialist. That is, I can say that it is a mechanical manifestation of whatever you are doing there in the civil engineering side. Means I am a product design specialist. The smallest product I designed is a Titan watch, and the biggest product I designed is Toyota Innova's roof and floor. In between, there are about 160 products, that is in consumer electronics, home appliances, computers, telecommunication, and interactive software. So I am actually I am a designer, and I came to a different field. Okay, those stories I can tell some other day, because this particular topic you are telling me to speak, this normally I take 1 day, because prompt engineering is very important. But it is important to know that why should we use prompt engineering for research. So I am going to come to that one first. So here let us so how I am going to plan this particular 1.5 hours session is, first let me tell you why that prompting is important for a good ethical research. So then I will show you some of the prompt engineering techniques, and later and that is what I can tell you in this 1.5 hours. But I can give you so much information so that even you can search this on various places, and you can get more information. So now let us go like this. Artificial intelligence for high impact research. You know, this is the situation of a researcher. Let it be a PhD research scholar or a faculty member, because ours is a country where the quantity is appreciated more than quality, so that every faculty member has got an AK-47 on back of his or her ears, so that you have to increase the paper output. So that person is also like this, full of confusion, full of questions, and full of exclamation. And that person is on fire, and the time is running out, and all details are spread over here. Now let me see like this. When someone is in such a situation, what are the type of the advices that person will get here? Person will get is that there are so many AI tools. You go and use those AI tools. You can make a research quickly, fast. Means whenever AI came to the picture, one thing I am hearing everywhere is that you can do it quickly. Means AI, people think it is a shortcut, but AI is it a shortcut? The day we decide that AI is a shortcut, our decline starts. I will tell you an example. When this first time when automobile car got introduced, I didn't use car for going my same distance quicker. I used my car to go to the faster, further, far away place where I would not have gone without a car. Means that is what a new technology is, for stretching ourselves. A new technology is for pushing boundaries. A new technology is for imagining more and reaching to the places we would not have reached without that technology. But here, how are we using it? We are using it for traveling the same distance fast. This is the place, this is the way in which we need to really look into. Therefore, I appreciate you for putting this particular subject here. This is a subject I talk for a day, but let me condense and tell important points here. See, these are all some of the AI tools I condensed here. But do you know one important thing about this? AI tools from internet, these are all the things I classified. AI tools for searching literature, there are certain. AI tools for literature review, there are certain tools. Then AI tools for content generation, there are something. AI tools for chat and summarize, paraphrase. AI tools for data analysis and data visualization. AI grammar check and paper editing. But none of these tools are actually solving the real problem faced by Indian research ecosystem, or it is not solving any of the problem faced by Indian research scholar. Let me tell you here why India has got second maximum number of paper outputs. Means it is a very good thing to say it is only a paper. Means only paper. It doesn't have even value of that white paper, because that paper is going to help only the person who is published, person publishing it only for his or her promotion. And if they are getting, most of the people are getting citation, you know the reason. So that is the way things are going. But that is not the thing this country needs. We need better. We need better. I will tell you some of the example. You know, a company like Infosys, that is about 45 years old now. But whether Infosys has developed a language, developed an operating system, whether they raised their level or contribution to the body of knowledge, nothing. Whatever business model they had at that time, they continued at this time. This is the same thing with almost every company here in India. But that is not the situation with the Chinese companies. Now, if China could come with a DeepSeek, with only some 2% or 3% of the investment of OpenAI and the type of the products they are. We are actually seeing OnePlus or Vivo, Oppo. Whatever way they started as a service industry in manufacturing, Infosys started as a service industry in software, but they did the innovations. They become product company and they have become such a world leaders. But Infosys, TCS and all, they are still remaining as a slave companies here. This is what the difference making when we do original research, or when we know how to think, or when we know real investigation, or when we know deductive reasoning. That is the way in which we should have made a difference, or still we have to make a difference. So let me show you this. What are the things actually AI can do for a researcher? What are the things? This is what it is beyond whatever this AI tools actually says. What we require is that something very different. First thing is that instant ideation expansion means whatever idea we have, AI can augment it, AI can magnify it. But we need to understand that, like bibliometrics, if a person is going to start for searching for, statistically searching for an idea or for a research gap, that person is only for increasing the paper count. That person is not going to bring anything for the real body of knowledge. So this is what person should have an idea. Person should, from where that idea comes. Ideas are always coming from inside. And inside, research gap is actually identified from inside, from reading between the lines. So people will really feel, yeah, there is a disconnect here, and that disconnect is actually the research gap. That is what one has to really put, and one has to really see, and one has to implement. So here, the first thing a research, I am going little fast because we don't have time. That first thing AI can do is instant ideation expansion. Second thing is uninterrupted research flow. See, I have personally visited some 270 institutions of technology and higher education. And one thing, I met more than 12,000 research scholars, and one thing in common with everyone. Do you know? 98% of these research scholars are stuck. They are stuck somewhere. They can't move. They are not even getting an appointment with a guide. Even if they get an appointment with a guide, guide is going to just to fire. Guide is not going to give any guidance. Then this is what artificial intelligence can help the researcher. Uninterrupted research flow. Research can be a very happy experience. It can be golden years of a person's life. It can actually give that type of acceleration. So that is the second thing. Third one is critical thinking amplification. See, you know what? There is a word called critical thinking. That is a word in the air here. Air. Because right from the first educational commission, that is Kothari's Kothari Commission report, from there to National Educational Policy, NEP 2020, there is a beautiful word or phrase called critical thinking. I have gone through about 50-60 universities syllabuses, but I have not seen critical thinking anywhere. Critical thinking is not there anywhere, and critical thinking is a bedrock. It is the foundation of research. And when critical thinking is not taught, then from where are our research scholars going to get that skill? Not only that, from where they are going to get this particular skill. And most importantly, we can say that most teachers in our system, I am talking not about school teachers, higher education, most of the teachers are coming to the institution as a last resort. Only 10 or 5% of teachers are actually coming because they want to disseminate knowledge and they want to nurture a new generation. They are very few. But rest of the people, they come for an employment, and they come for an employment. You know that the institutions are checking only that person's ability, that person's subject knowledge. Nobody is speaking about that person's ability to convince a WhatsApp and Instagram generation that this subject is good. I think in the case of architecture, that situation is good. No, situation is better. But you see, my personal opinion is that for you, the biggest anti-national thing happening in the architecture education is NATA examination. NATA examination, as far as I know, out of 60 questions, about 28 to 30 questions are from mathematics. And God only knows that why this integration and partial differential equation testing is going to help a person to study architecture better. So in my opinion, NATA examination actually removes the real architects from the system. This is what exactly happening in the case of research also. So now when it is coming to time efficiency boost, horizon broadening, you know this horizon broadening, we are all coming through this system with very little practical experience. There is a famous quotation by Steve Jobs: creativity is nothing but rearranging what we already know. Means if we know so many things, if you have got exposure to so many things, like in your case, a student who has got maximum exposure to various type of buildings or designs, that person will be more creative because that person will have many things to rearrange. So that person will have more creativity. Therefore, AI is one very important thing is that it can broaden our horizon. Then it can innovate, it can help, it can motivate, it can dynamic data assimilation. I am going little faster because of lack of time. Evolutionary idea adaptation. This is another thing of generative AI. Because research is a journey, learning is a journey. In a journey, if you are observant, if you notice things, then that is going to change you. And then you have become a different person. And that different person's production or whatever the creativity that different evolved person does, it will be different from what he used to do in the past. Therefore, AI has got a powerful capability in this way. Then rapid literature synthesis. We need to understand that AI is not doing literature review. AI can do literature synthesis. AI can do knowledge integration. Then next important thing is the bias detection and neutralization. See, bias, we all carry various biases, but AI can neutralize it. Then adaptive learning edge, advanced visualization tool, scalable research methodology, interdisciplinary integration. This is a very, very important part of AI for research. That is interdisciplinary. We know that we all grew through silos. Means if you say like that, we forget to understand that engineering is divided into branches only for the easiness of explanation or teaching. But any engineering product, it has got various sciences and various branches into that. With my about 38 to 40 years of experience, I have not seen one product which is coming from only from one domain. And AICTE and all, they started speaking about interdisciplinary only now. So this is the tragedy of the system. Holistic research enhancement. Now, let me go ahead a little fast. 12 reasons why generative AI doesn't lead to plagiarism. See, when we speak about, as I was telling you in the beginning, when we speak about research, AI for research, immediately people jump and say plagiarism. But I do not understand if a person using generative AI appropriately, from where plagiarism can come. It cannot come. For example, most of this deemed research and most of the old-fashioned researchers, they think that they relate ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud with Google search. We know that when we search Google with the keywords, Google is going to give search results. Google is not giving answer. Google is giving search result. And search result is Google. So many O's between that. So this ultimately the onus of finding the answer is on us. If we are taking one copy and putting it here, it is immediately, means it is copied. It is very clear. That is plagiarism. Unless if we don't acknowledge the source. But when it is coming through ChatGPT, the situation is entirely different. People do not understand this. So let me speak to you regarding this. See, 12 reasons why generative AI doesn't lead to plagiarism. First thing is that it is an original generation. You know that the input, process, output, that is a 3-stage. Input, process, output. In the case of generative AI, if you are using custom prompting, the input is designed and coined by you. Process is the instruction how to process or how to work on the input, that is decided by you. Output is you are going to decide what is the format of the output or what we require the output. That means input, process, output. You are in charge of the 100% in the case of generative AI. And then people may ask, then what about the trained data? Trained data is somebody's trained data. Then let me ask you a question. I am reading one very good book on architecture. I am watching so many YouTube videos on architecture. My brain has got a synthesis of all these videos and this important architecture books. Then with this synthesis, I am going to design a building or design a sculpture. Can you say that it's a plagiarism? That is actually, it is an integration, synthesis done by me from various places. Another point also I wanted to tell you here. If you see the generative AI, that is ChatGPT's total trained data, it is, if you can imagine, it is about a library. Imagine a library with shelves of six rows six level shelves. means a shelf with the 6 level, and this
so your video is frozen. Is it just me? Hello. Yeah, you're back. Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah, in between I lost the video, but yeah, now it's back. Please continue.
Okay. See, that is a type of the data. Means 1 kilometer width, wide and about 60 kilometer long. This is a type of the data digitized and trained and kept for us to use. Whatever we need, I can say like that almost everything what we require, it is already there in that. So when we are thinking, going back to Steve Jobs' words, creativity is nothing but rearranging what we already know. Then this particular creativity, we have got such a big data to rearrange. So our ability to rearrange is the main thing, and prompt engineering is the right thing to find it and rearrange them. This rearranging is the ability one has to understand at the age, at this era of generative AI. Therefore, if you are using custom prompting, if you are using your creativity, then there is no plagiarism from generative AI. Similar thing, it is a user input. The quality and specificity of the generated text can depend on the user's skill in crafting a prompt. Therefore, based on your input, you are going to get the output. So there is no free lunch on generative AI. I will tell you for this. On Instagram, we are getting so many advertisements. You can write a book without, you can publish a book, you can author a book without writing a word. You can author a book without writing a word. But I challenge or I bet one thing, even that author himself or herself won't read that book. It will be such a bland thing. It will be such a, without any twist and turn, without any emotion. You will get a published paper sort of thing. Now, those people who are going behind the counting of paper, there is no necessity even going behind bibliometrics. I will tell you one website. It is oriateai.com. There you just put one keyword, you will get a full research paper ready with the title, abstract, keyword, introduction, literature review. Then you get it complete, and then you will get a conclusion. Then you will get according to APA 7 format, you will get all complete reference list. You go and see the reference. It is there. It is not wrong. It is not wrong. You will get the complete reference list there. And this is the type of the situation we are in. We need to understand that this is high time for UGC, AICTE and all this group of people to stop insisting on paper publishing, because there is no meaning. It is not related to education or contribution to body of knowledge itself. So next thing is that this generative AI or ChatGPT, it's a tool, not or writing a book. I am not going to give the make of my specs or make of my pen. I am not going to give, because this AI is like a tool only. It is not a source. Exactly like my pen or a specs, that is the value I am giving to these tools. It is actually making my life easier. I am able to travel long distance, which I would not have done earlier. See, I am a senior citizen. I want to tell you that after entering into prompting and generative AI and understanding the capabilities, I believe I got about 15 years more to my life. Now you are all much younger to me. You know that if you are going to use these technologies properly, how many more years exponentially, you know that how much more you will get here. Therefore, this tool we cannot claim of authorship. See, ChatGPT about 3 months ago, they published a notification. They told that any output you are getting from ChatGPT, if someone is coming behind you with a copyright issue, that and they are going, if they are going to sue you, ChatGPT's company OpenAI will fight that case for you. Means you need not fight that case because there is no authorship. Now at this stage, maybe I am taking a little time here, a detour, because I feel such examples nobody else will tell you. This what is exactly, because you are not coming from the technology. Let me tell you something in a very simple English. What is that? I will tell an analogy of this entire generative AI process. For example, see, I am a mechanical engineer. One of my friends, he purchased 3 old motorcycles, and he bought these 3 motorcycles to his garage and he dismantled it. Totally dismantled up to the screw chain and to the bulb or speedometer. Up to there he dismantled. Then he assembled a scooter out of it. Please understand, he assembled a scooter out of it. Now, is that scooter a plagiarism, a product of plagiarism? No. That scooter was conceived and assembled by my friend. He called me, I went there, I saw a good scooter working, and then I asked him, can you make a table lamp? He immediately searched for pieces and he made a table lamp for me in half an hour. So this is the question here. Like that scooter and table lamp are not an example of plagiarism. So what is that? This is what I wanted to tell you. The 3 motorcycles he purchased from that second-hand old motorcycle market, that is the total available data. The way in which he dismantled and kept there, that is actually something called a training. Means it is dismantled and kept to a situation that it can be reused for something else. Means it can be logically connected for some other purpose. Then we are coming to this, it can be made to a product. Similarly, when you are speaking about generative AI, what you are exactly doing is that the companies like Google or OpenAI, they collected all the books and all the data from various places. They dismantled and kept in a form that it can be connected in a meaningful way for some other purpose. So this is the way in which these things are getting assembled. And how to get assembled this? There is an NLP, there is a technology that I am not going to explain to you because of time limitation. But I hope you got an idea about how this generative AI works. Now, let me go to another important part of research, high impact research and generative AI. That is the key point here. I explained to you that why custom prompting is important, and custom prompting is going to remove plagiarism from AI with AI based research. So second point I want to tell you is the key thing, that is critical thinking. This critical thinking, as I said earlier, it is not taught in Indian system. It is not even there in the research methodology. So let me introduce you to a critical thinking framework, and once I complete this, then I go to the prompting side. See, this is critical thinking framework of you must apply intellectual standards to the elements of reasoning so that you develop intellectual traits. These intellectual traits will lead to high impact research, and then that researcher creates research. We are seeing only that final trophy. We see only the final trophy, that research paper. We forget to see that if a person is creating a good research output years ago or months ago, that person has become a good researcher. A good researcher only can create a good research output. How that particular person is becoming a good researcher, it is a main thing. That person ingrains, that person become a character of intellectual traits. Intellectual traits are there, and we can say that if a person is a genuine researcher, genuine PhD holder, that intellectual traits will radiate from that person. He or she need not tell that I am a PhD holder, because their conduct and their questions and their articulation will say they have PhD. They have PhD from a good place. And how is it attained? It is, you must apply intellectual standards. I will tell you what are all intellectual standards. Then to the elements of thought or elements of reasoning. When we understand this particular critical thinking framework, and when we start applying this into our day-to-day life, then we will shine like diamonds. Then we will start developing real research, and everyone around us, your students, your family members, and your neighbors, everyone will start realizing that, yeah, there is a change in this person. So let me tell you what are all intellectual standards. What are the things we do? Everything should go through this filter called intellectual standard. They are clarity, accuracy, relevance, logicality, breadth, depth, precision, significance, completeness, fairness. These are the 10 intellectual standards. Whatever we do, or what are the works we do, everything should go through these intellectual standards. Let me go to the next one, to the elements of reasoning. Elements of reasoning or elements of thought. The purpose means purpose of our research. Second is question. What are the questions we are asking or trying to clarify through this research? Then information. What are the data and information we are using here? Then concept. What are the concepts we have? Then point of view, inferences, assumptions, implication. These are the 8 elements of thought or elements of reasoning. Then once we have this, now let me tell you this, how it is going to help the research process. The main thing is this, or our intellectual, we are all knowledge workers. How this is going to help us? It is like this: clarity of purpose, clarity of question, clarity of purpose, accuracy of purpose, relevance of purpose, logicality of purpose, breadth of purpose, depth of purpose, precision of purpose, significance of purpose, completeness of purpose, fairness of purpose. Similarly, accuracy of purpose. Similarly, clarity of questions, accuracy of questions, relevance of questions, logicality of questions. In this way, 10 intellectual standards and 8 elements of thought and elements of reasoning. When this is having that permutation combination, we will be with the full of questions. We will be with the full of clarification. And this is what actually make a researcher, and that researcher will have the following intellectual traits. That is intellectual courage, intellectual humility, intellectual integrity, intellectual empathy, intellectual autonomy, intellectual perseverance, fair-mindedness, confidence in reason. Means when we go through this intellectual standards and elements of reasoning, we ingrain those things into us. Then we become a different type of people and we launch ourselves to another league. We launch ourselves to another league. Actually, this particular phrase I am taking from Mr. Ratan Tata. I was a chief operating officer with Tata Group. He only told that if you do these things and all, you will reach another league. We have to reach there. So therefore, this is what the critical thinking process. Unless we do this, we are not going to do anything which worth living. Means we will always we will remain as followers and we will never become leaders or masters. Therefore, and why I told you about this, not only about the critical thinking, to do this, AI will help. I will show you that how AI will help there. See, the purpose of your research, how clear are they? AI can help in various ways to make this purpose in research. Similarly, various ways how each stage of the critical thinking AI can help. Now, let me stop here because we have very less time for prompt engineering. So let me go to prompt engineering now.
It's 2:00 p.m.
See, as I was telling you earlier, generative AI is 2 years old now. And there are, if you go to Instagram, if you go to internet, there are so many people, they are selling prompt on, if you go to LinkedIn, they will say that this prompt is for that, this prompt is this for. If you see those prompts, you will see that it is something like a plain English, somebody has written an objective, that's all. Is it so simple? Is prompting so simple? That is a question. People think that it is so simple, I can do it. And most people, they don't get there what they are looking for. So what is exactly that prompting? So let me tell you one fundamental thing here. We are all having one Android phone or one Apple phone. 99% of the people will be carrying one of these. We are actually using some 2% or 3% of the features of that phone. Why? The balance 97% of features are not useful or on. It is not like that. We know only those 3% or 2% of features. I make a call, I see WhatsApp, I do train booking, flight booking, that's all. I don't do anything else with my phone. So I don't know rest of the features. That is what exactly happening with the prompting. We do not know the prompting. We do not know what are all the possibilities with the prompting. So this is what earlier, whatever we were speaking about those prompting, it is only 1% of the capabilities. Normally, I take 1 day to explain what is the other 99% of the possibilities. It is whatever we were speaking earlier for the research, that is idea augmentation, thinking horizon, everything can be built to prompting. Now, let me start with this. This image you would have seen, it is GIGO, that is garbage in, garbage out. But you know, in the case of IT, it is garbage in, garbage out. But in the case of AI, it is garbage in, augmented garbage out. Garbage garbage in multiplied garbage out. Means that is the type of the garbage you will get from generative AI if you are not good in prompting. So if you are good in prompting, the way what you get the and to go to the right place, take that 5 gram item from there and you can come back. That is the way diamonds are drilled and diamonds are taken. You can dig into that ocean library and take the correct information if you know prompting. If decides the quality of the answers. That means onus is on you to ask. We cannot complain ChatGPT that I got only this. ChatGPT is wrong. It is actually saying that what we are doing is wrong. If we are really working, if you know how to dig, if you know how to use the correct model, then you are going to get different quality of output. Then second thing about generative AI is that the skill and the ability to question the answers lead to new knowledge generation. No one can forget this. We are all taught to answer the questions, but the skill what we require in generative AI is the ability to question the answers. We need to understand that I am sitting here in Pune and you are all sitting there in Bangalore, and I am able to speak like this to you. We have come to this level from the cavemen. Our ancestors they were staying in some caves. How we came from there to here? It was some people had the brain, some people had the tongue, some people had the spine to ask questions to the answers given. So always new knowledge got created by questioning the answers. That is the main thing about ChatGPT or generative AI. That is the main thing about the research, means the questioning the answers. Never get satisfied with the answers what given. I wanted to tell you another point also. If you are every time getting will brand you as an idiot, because he or she is an idiot, always agreeing to what I am throwing at them. They will brand you as an idiot. If you are going to ask a question, if you are going to ask hit back, then ChatGPT will treat you with respect. ChatGPT will give start giving better answers to you. Just to try. You know, Hinduism or that ancient Indian education system, we have 108 Upanishads, and it is hierarchical. Fourth hierarchy for Upanishad is Prashnopanishad. Prashnopanishad is the basic for prompt engineering. I am not speaking religion here. I am speaking only about the Upanishad. Prashnopanishad, it says exactly what is the type of the behavior we should have with ChatGPT. Means it is a question. This is the second important thing for prompt engineering in ChatGPT. So now let me start with this. What is a prompt? We are going for a prompt engineering. So we are going to see what is a prompt. Many people say prompt is a question. Many people say prompt is a problem you are giving to ChatGPT, but it is not. Actually, prompt means you are making ChatGPT to means you are prodding ChatGPT to do something. But that more than that, you have to understand one word given here, guiding its output. In generative AI, a prompt is an input given to the model to guide its output. If you understand this concept, in my opinion, half of your generative AI knowledge will come immediately. Your prompt is to guide ChatGPT's output. Guiding is the key. Guiding it's a very much lauded word. You can guide the ChatGPT in various ways. So important thing is guiding the ChatGPT. That is what prompt is doing. Second is, what is prompt engineering? Do you know engineering is a very different word. You know why engineering is a failure in India? Because no engineering college is teaching actual engineering. Engineering means skillfully arrange for something to occur. Technology is only one small portion of engineering. We have gone even below technology. We are actually teaching some applied science. That is what we are teaching in engineering colleges. So prompt engineering means skillfully arrange for something to occur. Means we are using prompt for skillfully arrange for some output. That is what the prompt engineering real purpose. And prompt engineering is one of the most sought after profession now in the world, and people are getting paid very well, very well. And the important thing about this generative artificial intelligence is that earlier times in information technology, there were people coders. Now the LLM, that is AI tools, have come to such a thing that 94% accurate coding we can get from large language models, that is generative AI. That means if we are giving an idea to ChatGPT, it can generate, ChatGPT Pro can generate codes with 94% accuracy. Now it is only months or years. How many people are going to lose their jobs? Because now we have reached an age where ideas are more important than the ability to write a code. So anyone with an idea can create the complete software on his or her own. What is important is, as Steve Jobs said, what is our past experience and how much knowledge we have accumulated so far. That is what the important thing. So this is what we are coming to. We are going for prompt engineering, and here I am writing this. This is a magic prompt formula. Any prompt that we write should have minimum of this. That is, it should have a context. It should have a task. It should have instruction, and if possible, give an example or example data. This is what actually I am going to show you various things how we can use generative AI for our purpose. See, according to this magic prompt formula, it is context, task, instruction. It is as simple as this. We have to write a context always. Means one context is I am hungry is a context. Task. that order a masala dosa on Swiggy. That is a task. Instruction. The hotel should be within 2 kilometers. Otherwise, my masala dosa will get cold. Okay. So these type of things can be a prompt, but these type of details should be there. Then example data means we can that can be given. That can be given as an additional thing. So I am starting our prompt engineering here. You know that in a prompt, when we are prompting, it is not like a Google search. In prompt, we can say input output. That is input and output prompt means we are asking something and immediately ChatGPT. I am using the word ChatGPT because that is the most popular AI platform, and most people know about that. When I say ChatGPT, I only mean generative AI. So first I am going to say like that: input output. In the case of Google, we give some input like a keyword, we get the search result. But in the case of ChatGPT, I can ask which is the city, which is the capital city of Karnataka. Then ChatGPT is going to give an output saying Bengaluru. Whether this is too simple, I can give input output in various different way. For example, I am sitting here in Pune and I can ask ChatGPT one question. Please listen to the question. See, I am traveling from Pune to Mangaluru by car. I can ask ChatGPT, I am traveling from Pune to Mangaluru by car through this expressway, this highway. Tell me which are all the major rivers I would cross while traveling. You know, this is a question, but no answer is given anywhere in the total data, because no one would have written this particular thing anywhere. I hope you understand this. I am asking such a direct question to ChatGPT. ChatGPT will give direct answer for this. It is right from Indrayani to Netravati. Every other river it will list and give to me. That also is an input and output. Input output prompt in ChatGPT. Another one is input process output. I am going to give an input, then there is a process, it is going to give an output. So here every step is important, and the most important thing is the process. So I am going to speak about this input process output in the rest of the program. So let me tell you only about output here. While speaking about plagiarism for research, I told that there is no chance of plagiarism if you are using custom prompting. For example, you know, in Google, if you are putting a sentence in double quotes, within double quotes, that says we are instructing Google, you have to search verbatim. Means if I am putting a sentence, when the user clicks the next button or swipes next, you should do this. If I am putting that in double quotes, Google will realize that it has to search verbatim. So whatever you get output from ChatGPT, take it and put it in verbatim. ChatGPT will show no similar text available. That means whatever we get from ChatGPT as an output of this custom prompting, See, it is original, nothing existing like that. So what are all the ways we can get output? For example, we can have formal output, formal tone or informal tone. We can vary the complexity of information. We can vary the length of response. That is, I can tell ChatGPT, write Mahabharata in 50 pages or 25 pages, 5 pages or 0.5 pages. General specific prompt means I can tell ChatGPT to write Pythagoras theorem in a horror way. And emotion or sentiment, I can tell ChatGPT to write Pythagoras theorem in a very romantic way. Or factual versus creative. You know that, as I was telling about the NATA examination, in my opinion, this architects should be 65 to 70% creative and 30% only factual or so much of calculative. But this, we know that there are two types of people like that. Similarly, we can tell ChatGPT, you give the output as factual or creative. Then it is coming to bullet or tabular format or any other format. Even we can get a JSON output. JSON output means you can use this output for some other software. Means your prompt's output is going to be an input for another software. So, so this is what the input process output. Now let us go to next one. This is the first and fundamental thing about prompting. If you want to get a better result, first thing you have to do is that you have to give a persona to the role to the ChatGPT. Role in the sense you have to specifically tell who is ChatGPT. You can tell ChatGPT you are a policeman. Then from that moment ChatGPT will start behaving like a policeman. You can tell ChatGPT you are a thief. From that moment ChatGPT will start acting as a thief. So important thing is, any work from today, from this moment, any work you do on generative AI, you have to give a persona to ChatGPT. I will show you some of the examples here. Act as a translator. Translate the following English text to Spanish. Hello, how are you? Means I am giving act as a translator. Means the role of ChatGPT is as a translator. Another one, act as a mathematics tutor. Explain the concept of Pythagoras theorem to a 5th grade student. Here is acting. Then third, act as a storyteller. Now, it need not be only role. It can even be a state. Means you can even say like that. Act as Dr. Suresh Nambudiri standing at Bangalore Majestic railway station, whose phone and wallet are lost. That's a situation. Even we can put ChatGPT in that situation. Then ChatGPT will start behaving based on that particular situation. So this is what important thing at this stage. Role, persona or state, we need to specify for the prompting. Now let me go next. This is a lifesaver for any teacher or any knowledge worker. If you know this particular thing, then from here onwards, our knowledge work is terribly easy. I will show you this. This is called let us think step by step prompt. Let us think step by step prompt. You know that Indian textbooks, in the end they will have question and answer. But most foreign textbook, it will only have question and they don't give answer there. That is one thing. Second thing is that teachers, they have to go to class and they have to speak beyond what is written in the textbook. That is what the role of the teacher. They have to speak beyond. So if you find something which is actually tough or you are not able to comprehend it, how are you going to do? This is the solution. You write on ChatGPT anything tough, most difficult problem, and you write below, let us think step by step. Then ask the best teacher in the world. This ChatGPT will write step by step the solution for that, or the interpretation of that, or the utility of that. It will write step by step so that it will be easily comprehensible. This is what the secret nowadays. All these training centers, e-learning companies, they all want to hide from people. Because now no tutorial colleges are required. No training classes are required. Anything you put there and just write, let us think step by step, it is going to write. Now, I will show you some example here. See, act as a mathematician and find the answer for this problem. Then complete problem is written, let us think step by step. What is the difference between this asking for an answer and telling, let us think step by step? Here it is written. If I am asking to ChatGPT, what is the diameter of the moon? It will give me the diameter of the moon. 3,474 kilometers is the diameter of the moon. But if I am going to ask ChatGPT, what is the diameter of the moon? Let us think step by step. Then it is going to give me that entire path, how you can do that. Let me go further. I have about 50 different prompting techniques there, but I will be able to explain some 6 or 8, but I will tell you this most important thing. Now I am coming to 0, 1 and a few short prompts. 0, 1 and a few short prompts. Don't get confused with the shorts and all. It is only short means how many examples you are giving, but there is a very, very important principle of generative AI in this. Means you please remember, I told that what is the purpose of a prompt? It is not to question. Purpose of a prompt is to guide the output. Purpose of a prompt is to guide the output. So here zero short prompt is like this. Which city is the capital of Karnataka? That is a 0 short prompt because I have not given any example. 1 short prompt is which city is the capital of Karnataka? And in bracket, example, Mumbai is the capital of Maharashtra. So I am channeling the thinking process of LLM. I am channeling. So whenever you give an example in a prompt, please understand ChatGPT as a good friend of you will think that this example is the thing you are actually giving as a guidance. That is what you are looking for. So that is what called short prompt. Means you are giving an example to channelize the thinking process of the generative AI. Now I am going to show few short prompt. Few short prompt is very, very important. Please listen to this. If you understand this, you will take your profession to another level. If you understand this very well, you can say like that, today can be the first day of the rest of your life. That is the type of important thing. See, I am telling ChatGPT, create a personal recipe for chicken salad for me. I repeat, create a personal recipe for a chicken salad for me. I am telling this is my prompt to ChatGPT. Then example 1, I am giving one recipe. Example 2, I am giving another recipe. Means ChatGPT got my prompt, create a personal recipe of chicken salad for me. Then I wrote example 1 recipe, example 2nd recipe. I can put example 3rd recipe. Do you know what ChatGPT will do? ChatGPT will extract the uniqueness of each recipe and integrate it and put it on my chicken salad recipe. I hope you understood the human type of thinking ChatGPT does. It extracts the uniqueness of first recipe, extract the uniqueness of the second recipe, extract the uniqueness of the third recipe, then integrate and put it on my personalized chicken salad recipe. This is the power of prompting. This is the power of ChatGPT. Now we are coming to an interaction prompt. Many people think that ChatGPT's interaction is only one-on-one. Means we give something and there is a stimuli response. It is not like that. ChatGPT can be made for interaction. I will show you an example here. See, being BArch students, and you know that you have gone through chemistry labs. You have gone through salt analysis. So this is an prompt for salt analysis. Act as a chemistry lab instructor. I have to perform a salt analysis. I am given with a substance whose description is given below. Please guide me how to do the salt analysis till the end. That means guide me till I identify the salt. Only provide one step at a time. The description of the substance, white powder. So ChatGPT, like an instructor standing next to you, will start giving instruction. Take that powder and see whether it is soluble. Then tell me the answer. I see whether it is soluble. I tell that it is insoluble. Then ChatGPT will tell, next, take that little and put it on a flame and tell me the color of the flame. I tell, this has got a yellow color flame. Okay, in this way, it will logically, bring us to the salt. Similar way, you can put it at any stage, any type of lab experience or any instruction. So there are various prompts like this. Actually, what I do is I conduct workshop for prompt engineering as part of. I normally conduct 2 types of program. Three types of program. One is artificial intelligence for pedagogical excellence, because that is the most important thing in this world where Instagram and WhatsApp are totally brainwashing our students. How to deal with in such a situation. That is why my program is artificial intelligence for pedagogical excellence. That is, I blend Bloom's taxonomy with artificial intelligence and various methods in which you can give innovative projects and very interesting assignments and very good stories in the class. That is one thing. I believe Smart class is the class in which the teacher is smart. It is not something Samsung sells. Smart class is the class in which teacher is smart. Second is artificial intelligence for high impact research. There this entire prompt engineering is tuned for making custom prompting. See, I am coming from Kerala, and in Malayalam there is a saying. It is called Tan Padi Devam Padi. You half and God half. You have to do your half first, then only God will do God's half. Similarly, it is like a Tan Padi, AI Padi. You do your half first, then AI will do AI's part. Then this combination will be really no plagiarism. It will be really genuine research. And now onwards, with that Oriate.ai.com type of tools, only genuine research can survive now. So I am speaking about that. Then the third thing I am specifically saying, because I am a design engineer and I work on artificial intelligence for design thinking, because how to deploy design thinking principles for various type of creative work with AI. So these are the things, but let me tell you one important point. With that, I think we are reaching some 90 minutes. And because I am used to conducting workshop, and in workshop, what I do, I give prompts to you, prompts to the participant, and you will use the prompt then and there, and then we will. In this particular setup, I am not able to give the research, the prompts to you. So let me conclude here with this. Clever approach to prompting. Actually, these are all developed by me. This is a clever approach to prompting, means clever, CLEVER. The important thing about is clever. C stands for critical thinking. C stands for critical thinking. L stands for literacy and subject knowledge. Unless you have literacy and subject knowledge, you are not going to get anything beneficial from ChatGPT. You are not going to get anything, because as we were telling you, you are half and ChatGPT is half. Unless you use literacy and subject knowledge, you cannot get anything worthwhile from ChatGPT. Why literacy is important? Because we have to use it to consider ChatGPT as another human being. If our questions, if our language is not proper, ChatGPT will misunderstand us. So this type of misunderstanding can lead to wrong output generation. We won't get what exactly we were looking for. So third thing is ethical awareness. We have to understand our own boundaries, and we have to understand ChatGPT's boundaries, and we have to understand the best practices of research, best practices of ethical research. This is what E. V stands for versatility. Means we have to always we have to be always observant of means what is our real problem, what type of prompting we should use. So this is what coming versatility. E means experimentation and iteration. Means many of the thing. Research, if we are doing research, if we are doing something someone has done in the past, then we are not doing the right research, because research means we have to investigate and find something new. So that experimentation and iteration is very important for this. So third and the last thing, R of clever. Last thing is result orientation. Means result orientation means many times, ChatGPT, the generative AI is only 2-year-old technology, but automobile industry, it is about 120-year-old technology. Information technology is about 60-year-old technology now. So therefore, those technology got matured. Our generative AI, it is still a 2-year-old infant. infant can make mistake. So therefore we have to be always careful whether what is the type of mistake it is doing, so that we have to always correct our course. For example, if I am driving from Pune, where I am sitting, to Bangalore, when I am driving, in between there will be a board, take deviation, that is road or bridge under repair. Then what will happen exactly? Even if I deviate, I have to always come back to the right course. That course correction is my job. So when we are doing prompting, it is course correction and it is our job. So that is what the clever approach to prompting. So I hope now it is coming. Now let us go to question answer. Anyone who has got any clarification on this, I will tell you my phone number, that you can call me and ask, because our time is very limited. Whatever I normally take for 1 day or 2 days, because I conduct only transformatory program, because at my age I want to pour all my wisdom, so that you will really gain from that. So my phone number is 967 367 0033.
It's 3:00 p.m.
I've put it in the chat box. Could you just check once, sir? Yeah, that's correct, right? 967 367 0033. Right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyone has any question, please ask.
Yeah, you can please raise your hand or put your questions in the chat box, please. While they're asking, if I may, so thank you so much. I understand it's a very long kind of an FDP thing that you're trying to just introduce to us today in a very short time span. But so, AI sometimes will hallucinate. So anything in I understand that we should do step by step and first gain a persona and try and give small steps. But anything that we can do to reduce the possibility of hallucinations, as you're saying, some mistakes will be there and we have to be careful. I understand that. But still, something that you want us to be careful about?
See, there was an interview with Sundar Pichai, and in that interview, he specifically said hallucination is the main spine of generative AI, because hallucination is there. You cannot avoid that. But I will tell you one technique where hallucination can be reduced. When you write a prompt, you can write temperature is equal to temperature, means that there is a variable called temperature. If you in as a default, if nothing is written, ChatGPT or Gemini, they take temperature as 0.7. Means that is a balanced way of hallucination, balanced way of factual. But if you are putting this the temperature is equal to 0.9, hallucination will be more. It will start becoming more creative, and you will get a very different type. But if you are going to put that temperature is equal to 0.3 or 0.4, then you will get with a more factual type of information. Okay. But hallucination is part of generative AI, but with custom prompting and questioning back and always interrogating ChatGPT, you will get better results.
It's because it hallucinates, it can creatively put together the parts, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. And also, since we are particularly talking about academic writing, even when we are doing custom prompts and generating component parts and trying to do all of that, but do you think at some point we should is there a necessity to rewrite components? Because from a very practical point of view, there will be AI detection, right? This is something that people raise all the time. See, one part is plagiarism, and I understand since you are doing a custom prompting, how you bring together existing data is your own, because that is how you're designing the whole thing. But the way it is brought together, here I'm just talking about the language component. So they will do their analysis and say this particular text or a certain part of it is AI generated. Not just that, suppose you get an AI generated text and you change it according to your own needs. So the AI detection software will say this text is originally AI, but with some human changes. So any thoughts on that, sir?
Anyway, I am very thankful to you, madam, for that raising that topic, because I totally forgot that. See, important thing is that now Microsoft Word is coming with the AI. Google Gmail is coming with the AI. Even writing software like Scrivener is coming with the AI. So AI has already become an assistant everywhere. So you cannot say that, you cannot equate AI generated text with plagiarism. That is the blunder mistake, anti-national mistake, which is actually spoiling the show. This important thing is AI generation is not plagiarism. Some months ago, my wife was in US and I was writing an email to her. I wrote my email, and since my mother tongue is not English, I want to refine my English. I put it on a Quillbot or Grammarly and all. I got this. I got the result and I sent that email to my wife. Is it plagiarism? I refined it by using AI, but you take my letter to my wife on an AI detection similarity software, it will say AI wrote to my
Detected.
wife.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is what we need to draw that line. We have to actually, major education is required for all educators here about what is AI, what is AI detection software does, and what is actually plagiarism. Plagiarism is something like it is a theft. Okay, AI detection is I am refining. Now you go to any of the major publishers, you go to Taylor and Francis, you go to Elsevier, you go to Sage. No one is telling that AI should not be there. They are only telling you, you declare your usage of AI, whether you used AI or not. Yes. Why you used it? You write. Which are the tools you used? Where did you use it? You only write that. Nobody is telling us that. Only here some uneducated research deans are telling that you should not use AI. They are the anti-national people. They are the people against the growth of the country with their ignorance.
True, sir, because this is a problem. Because as you're saying, it's not plagiarism, but even the text gets detected. Even if it is
No, text. We should not even go for detecting that, because it has become part of life now.
yeah.
We should not even think about detecting that.
Yeah, because the publication process and all, some of these things are not in your hands, no? So I guess in some cases, yeah.
No, madam, that is a point. Because you go to Taylor Francis Elsevier,
there it is.
on
fair.
their paper, it is very clearly written. You declare, that's
You have to
all.
declare.
And because of AI content, they are not going to reject your paper. And especially for us, we are not native English speakers.
Yes.
We are not. My mother tongue is not English. I can always claim I don't know good English. I refined my English. That's all.
Yeah.
If your ideas are genuine, your approach is different, means there is real research methodology there. Nobody is going to reject something because the English is AI generated. No, that time has gone. It was few months ago.
Yeah, that is the problem. Yeah. Any question? Any question from any of the participants? I think they're all trying, sir, the prompts, and then the questions usually come later once we try and we get stuck. Maybe there's a sequence or a particular way. And as it would have been better if it was a workshop, we'll see, sir, because we also have the provision. Do you visit Bangalore much? Is it?
You know what? That one state I have done the least number of workshop is Karnataka.
So maybe we'll start with us.
Only places I think I have gone were National Institute of Technology, that is in Surathkal, and Srinivas University in, I think, Mangalore. These are the two places.
Okay. So maybe we can arrange for a workshop, because I think, as you're saying, this one is just introductory so far. If you can give us an entire set of prompts and we try in a workshop format, it is far more easier to get into the nitty-gritties of it. I think that's why the questions are also not coming today.
Yeah, more than that, we are becoming ignorant of the technologies available, and it is, and the AI is a very big equalizer. See here, when we are talking about Indian research, one very big complaint about India is that no research funding. But you know what? Only 3 to 4% of research really need funding. 95 to 96% of research, they don't need funding. In mathematics research, what type of funding we require? In literature research, what type of funding we require? And we are hiding behind this. And we really forget that this is a godsend thing for India, and we are turning our back towards this technology.
No, I think we are all waking up, and with you, see, you are also here to spread this, right? Yeah, I think it will change, hopefully. Yeah. All right. If there are no questions, I think we'll just thank you, sir, for making time for us.
Okay,
and I
thank
think
you.
it has opened a lot of things for us to now experiment with. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
madam.
you. Yeah. Thank you to all the participants as well. Thank you.